coach of the Colorado Buffaloes, primetime Deion Sanders says, "Give me my theme music." On this week's edition of Carving Up the Context, wanted to discuss Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James' little tiff, if you will, on the sidelines or sitting courtside at the Lakers-Knicks game Thursday night. So we can show you, first of all, let's go and show you what happened because I'm sitting behind, took the video. We'll play it 3 times on repeat. But you see LeBron James, he is not happy with Stephen A. Clearly, Stephen A., we can't see his face, but he looks a little stunned. His body language at least say that. LeBron, you can kind of read his lips saying, like, keep my kid's name out your mouth, whatever he's saying there. LeBron's irritated. There's no question about that. So what I think is fascinating about this entire situation, and I want to say this on the front end, because people know how I feel about LeBron. I think he's the greatest basketball player ever. I think he's been an amazing ambassador to the game. We can debate the GOAT stuff another day. Stephen A. Smith, though. It's not like I exactly commentate about commentators every show. Have in the past, but it's not exactly a regular occurrence. So everybody and their mama knows who Stephen A. Smith is. He's the face of the worldwide leader in sports. His resume speaks for itself. He's one of the greatest sports broadcasters that ever lived. And by the way, just got the bag, too, from ESPN. Love Stephen A. I love the path that he has paid for future broadcasters, particularly future broadcasters of color. I think he's done an amazing job on that front. I think he's been a vocal spokesman on that front. And I have to be honest with you guys, he obviously has controversial sports takes and people call him Screaming A and whatever. I think he's obviously an excellent sports broadcaster. I think as a political commentator, I think he's an A+. I think he is a natural at it. I think when you look at, Fox News will never criticize Trump. MSNBC, if Trump did something good, will never give him credit. Stephen A. Smith calls balls and strikes. Don't necessarily agree with him all the time, although more times than not, because we're both independents who lean left. Nonetheless, Stephen A., I think, is excellent as a political commentator, and you can see the way he has carved out for himself on that front. So I love Stephen A. Smith. I want to make that abundantly clear. LeBron was in the right for the way he handled this. Because the fact of the matter is this, that the whole Bronny discussion I found really disingenuous on some fronts. Because people like to, I shouldn't say people, the critics of LeBron, or at least the critics of the Bronny pick, are of the mindset that, hey, LeBron's great, LeBron's an all-timer, Bronny seems like a good kid. That's like the consensus. Everybody likes Bronny's a really good young man, but he does not belong in the NBA. He's not good enough to be in the NBA. He's not good enough. The only reason he's in the NBA is because of his dad. As a matter of fact, the reason that LeBron James confronted Stephen A. Smith, the backstory of this comes from January 29th, 2025, or in the year 2025. January 29th. This is the night after Bronny James got about 15 minutes of action against the Philadelphia 76ers and was bad for 15 minutes. It was not good. I think the Lakers, they were on a road back-to-back East Coast, Philadelphia. JJ had to had to extend his rotation, and Bronny was not good in the 15 minutes he played. Stephen A. Smith came out the next day. If we have the quote, we can show it to you right now. And I quote, Stephen A. Smith, "I am pleading with LeBron James as a father. Stop this. Stop this. We all know that Bronny James is in the NBA because of his dad." And end quote. So this is an objectively false statement. You know what? 2 things can be true. This is why Carving Up the Context exists, folks. This is why we do this segment. 2 things can be true. Bronny James is not drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers if LeBron James is not a Los Angeles Laker. I think even LeBron's, biggest stands, if you will, would agree with that statement. It's not debatable. Clutch Sports, Rich Paul, they pull all the strings to ensure no one else is going to draft him. He's going to be a Laker by the end of round 2. They made that happen. There's no question about that. And simultaneously, the second thing that can be true is that Bronny James is his draft status would show you, worthy NBA player. We can show you the numbers. So again, these aren't exactly eye-popping. Bronny James is the 55th overall pick in the draft. Can we show you where he ranks among rookies? Oh, whoops, wrong one. Here it is. 1.4 points per game, not great, but again, none of these stats are great. 56th in points per game, 55th overall pick. 53rd in assists per game, 55th pick. 48th in steals per game, 55th pick. Minutes per game, 56th, 55th pick. And he's played 18 games, which is 51st. And Bronny James, for the final time, was the 55th pick. You're like, Bryson, I don't know. Those are still, regardless of where he ranks among rookies, those still aren't good numbers at all, of course. So let's show you what he's done in the G League, which the G League, the whole premise of it is to develop young players, and Bronny has been actually very good. 21 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.8 steals. He's a good defensive player. Shoots about 44% from the field. That's expected for a guy his size. 39% from 3. That's good. And shoots 81%. He's actually, depending on the day, might be better than his dad at the free throw line. So the kid can play. Keep in mind, and this to me is really the crux of what LeBron, at least part of it, why he was angry. Like, visibly angry with Stephen A. Smith. 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago, summer of 2023, and this sounds, morbid or whatever. The kid could have been dead 2 years ago. Bronny James had a heart attack while working out at, I believe it was at USC at that point. Had he not gotten the medical attention, God knows what would have happened. I don't have kids, obviously. I obviously have family that I'm incredibly tight with. Can't even imagine the trauma that would come with that. And that's the kind of thing that sticks with you the rest of your life. Not only that, so, and by the way, for the record, it wasn't like Bronny James was riding the bench in high school and got in simply because of his dad. Kid was a McDonald's All-American. Kid could play. Like, there's a reason he got into USC. Kid could play. More so than that. LeBron James, famously, as we all know, grew up without a father, did not know his father. Still doesn't know who his father is, that we know of. And became a father himself at 19 years old. Him and Savannah had Bronny in October of 2004, a year after LeBron James was drafted in the NBA. And by the way, by all accounts, Bron is an excellent father, excellent husband. Obviously, he's been with Savannah since they were both teenagers at St. Vincent St. Mary's High School. Actually, I don't know if Savannah went there, but since they've been together since they were teenagers, has 3 kids. Bronny is people who know him love the kid. Says high character, works hard, all of it. It's clearly something LeBron James takes very, very seriously as his role as a father, because he did not have that. And now I'm going to have a man sit there and tell me how to parent my kid. Really? Because you, and again, respect Stephen A., but Stephen A., you know what's best for Bronny James, not me. After the job that I've done raising this young man for the last 20 years, yeah, it's not gonna fly. And I think what is most telling, LeBron is, I don't think it's even debatable, the most scrutinized athlete, certainly of this generation, maybe of all time. There's those who absolutely adore him and those who hate his guts. There's few in between. I tend to lean more toward the love LeBron a ton, because I think he's the greatest player ever. I think the world of LeBron James. Most polarizing athlete and the most scrutinized athlete of our lifetimes. He's never come in a media member like this, ever. Has he been testy with media? Has he been, if someone, we all remember when the J.R. Smith had the moment in the finals years ago and Bron lit the press conference early. That's about as far as he goes in terms of negative media reactions. He may fire off a tweet or something. He has never publicly, by the way, in the middle of a game, gone face to face with the guy who attacked him. Stephen A. did not attack LeBron James's play. Stephen A. went further than attacking Bronny's play. And that's what set LeBron James off. You think if Stephen A. in January, if LeBron had 10 points and shot, 3 for 15 from the field, and he said, man, Bron was bad last night. You think Bron's confronting him? Heck, I would go so far as to say this. Do you think if Bronny James had the game that he had, which was objectively terrible against the Sixers, and Stephen A. comes out and said, not sure he's quite ready yet. Like, you see the numbers, they're not good. I don't think he's ready yet. You think LeBron James is going to confront him like that? We saw footage. We don't have it right now on the show. LeBron James goes to Richard Jefferson, who was calling who along with Mike Breen, I think Doris Burke was there, calling the Celtics-Lakers game Saturday night. LeBron's talking to Richard Jefferson, who he won a championship with the Cavs, and you can read LeBron's lips, and he's like, man, it's like it was when he said, as a father, I'm pleading you. That obviously irritated LeBron. Didn't grow up with a dad, and so he takes great pride in being the best that he can possibly be. And so when you criticize my parenting, when you question my parenting methods, then that's going to be a problem, without question. And so on this week's edition of Carving Up the Context, listen, I love Stephen A. Smith and I love LeBron James. I hate to see two guys that I admire come into blows. It sucks. But, or not, I should say come into blows. That they didn't fight. But it's Stephen A's in the wrong here. He is. And I love him. But the criticism of Bronny went further than this play. And last point I'll make, because I've heard some people say, like, oh, LeBron had to, did Daddy have to step in for Bronny? Folks, if Bronny James confronted Stephen A. Smith, it's one thing for LeBron to do it because his resume speaks for itself and he's the dad. And if Bronny James confronted Stephen A. Smith, it would have been, not only would people have attacked Bronny, it would have been a referendum on Gen Z athletes. Man, they're so sensitive. They can't handle criticism. This is soft in NIL, and this is the problem with society. And LeBron's gotten criticism now, but he's also at his defenders. People would have destroyed Bronny if he was the one who went after Stephen A. Smith. So in this week's edition of Carving Up the Context, love Stephen A. And for the record, if anyone wants to criticize Bronny's play, feel free. He's playing to his draft position, and he's playing really well in the G League, but feel free. But to say he does not belong in the NBA is objectively false. And for Stephen A. to question LeBron's parenting, to instruct LeBron James on how to go about, handling his child, which, by the way, he's done an A++ job at, he went too far, and there's no question about it. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.